Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Merkel. Welcome to the Ivory Tower podcast, where we talk a little bit about sport and society, what sport looks like within the global context, what it looks like within the American context, what we think about sport, how we experience sport, why, how do we consume sport. I really hope you enjoy the following episode, and I hope you will continue to listen down the road. Thanks. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Merkel. Thank you for joining again for another episode of Rebuilding the Ivory Tower podcast, rebuilding perspectives on sport and society. I'm really excited about this episode today. I'm joined by Allison Kelly, a professional within the University of Kansas Athletics Department.
Yeah. Hey, great to meet you. Or not meet you, good Lord. I'm so used to doing that where it's like
Yeah.
I'm meeting someone new for the first time. But no, it's great to see you again after all these
Mhm.
years back at UCM.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's actually been what now? 3, 4, 5 years now, I think.
Yeah, maybe like a year. We're still really young. We're still
Yeah.
really young, obviously.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, maybe it's only been 1 year. It's fine. It's totally fine. So it's great. Thank you very much for joining with me today. I'm really excited about this conversation. I'm really curious about sort of your past experience in sport and sort of how you sort of transitioned into the role that you're in and how you got to working at KU.
Yeah. So I'll kind of give kind of a small elevator pitch, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'm Allison Kelly, Director of Marketing and Community Engagement here with Kansas Athletics. Kind of been involved in sports my whole life in some way, shape, or form. Played sports growing up, volleyball, basketball, softball, and transitioned over into high school. And it actually was like, freshman year, I played sports and I was like, I really don't want to play anymore. I want to do something else. But I know my parents, they told my sister and I, because we came from a Catholic school and we went to a public high school, and they're like, hey, we want you guys to be involved in something. Um, so I actually was very fortunate to help manage the football team my sophomore year, excuse me. And also help manage the girls basketball team and baseball team. Girls basketball just lasted a year, did it with my sister while she was still playing. And then junior year, that's when I switched over to the boys, and then just managed the rest of high school.
Hmm.
So kind of when I knew I wanted to be in sports, between that or teaching. And God, those teachers are so underpaid. I don't think I could do it. I really
Yeah.
don't. But my family's got a line of teachers in their history, but I studied sport management at UCM, kind of
Mm.
where we met. I know I did undergrad in sport management, grad school in kinesiology with a focus in sport management, which
Mhm.
I always feel weird saying that because it's like I did 2 classes on that
Yeah.
subject, and that was it. But it makes it sound cooler, I guess, is kind of a good way to look at it. Shortly after, I got a job with the Chiefs. But while at UCM, excuse me, I'll go back. While at UCM, I was undergrad marketing assistant and then switched over to graduate assistant for marketing and promotions.
Mhm.
So was there 5 years total, graduated undergrad a year early.
Mhm.
And then, gosh, yeah, once I graduated from grad school officially, went to work for the Chiefs first season, which grew up a fan. So very happy with how successful they've been,
I'm
especially
sure.
living
Yeah.
at all the different places. And everyone's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're just a bandwagon. I'm not. I pull out the baby picture every time, and it's the
Yep.
best.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But that was also Patrick Mahomes' first season.
Yeah.
So I still have a hat, I have a football, everything. Like
Mhm.
it was very much a cool experience. But I know the difference between pro and collegiate was way different, and I missed the collegiate side. So I was fortunate to get back into it, and that's where
Mhm.
Akron took a chance on me in 2019 as a
Yeah.
marketing coordinator. God, and then 2020, we all know what happened.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, my time was kept short there, but I was able to obtain a job at Minot State University as
Mhm.
the coordinator of marketing and promotions and senior woman administrator.
Mhm.
And wanted to challenge myself a little bit more after that. Went to UNLV, worked there for about 2 years as the marketing game presentation coordinator, and now I'm here. So
Yeah.
sorry for the long-winded background there.
Oh,
That's
that was wonderful. I love to hear that sort of roadmap that you provided. That was awesome. I'm really curious. I sort of want to ask, you think where this roadmap started, excuse me, where it started, do you think when you were managing at the high school level, do you think it all started from there? And then when you were managing those sports or helped manage those sports in high school, do you think that sort of fueled your interest or fueled your passion for working in the industry?
Yeah, no, I definitely think it fueled my passion because just being involved and I liked kind of the energy that it brought to the table about it.
Hmm.
Um, and it made me feel involved. I didn't need to be the star. I didn't need to be like the front runner, anything of that nature. I just wanted to be like I wanted to help out and like help with like all the awesome stuff that was going on. So
Hmm.
my time there, I know I my first year with football, we actually went to one state in St. Louis
Oh, that's
too.
cool.
So
Yeah.
look at us.
Yeah, it's
Casey's better
great.
than St. Louis. Just
Yeah.
kidding. I won't say that because I know you're closer. You're in Illinois, so
Yeah.
I don't want you to get in trouble with any St. Louis peeps.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it definitely fueled it. But my like, I guess passion and like real like where I decided I wanted to do marketing specifically was actually at UCM in
Hmm.
during a football game. Texting my mom, I'm in the stadium, I'm looking outwards, looking at the which is now which was the multi-purpose building, but now it's the Jerry M. Hughes Athletics multi-purpose building, I think.
It's a mouthful.
Something it's a big mouthful.
Yeah.
But I was looking over and I'm just like, oh, this is like so cool. I love this. I love how behind the scenes it was and not knowing what all it was. And I was texting my mom, I'm like, this is so cool. I want to do this. And of course, being a good mom, she's like, don't pigeonhole yourself.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, okay, I'll try everything else and
Yeah.
did facilities, ticketing, development. And I was like, yeah, marketing's still the way for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really funny and really awesome about both of our paths. I think we both crossed at UCM in the marketing department underneath the
Yep.
same manager. So shout out to Jeff Mason, who's now at a different university. But it was really fun. I do agree with you that that's sort of I wouldn't say it was like a realization or like an epiphany moment. It was more like a holy cow, this is really I don't know what word that describes, but it's sort of like a
Maybe
I
like an
guess really
aha moment,
yeah,
like
something like
maybe not
that.
epiphany, but yeah, like kind of like I could see myself doing this, or this is
Yeah,
like really cool. This is opening up so many things for me right now. And you're
yeah,
like, oh, this is cool. I like
yeah.
this.
It's really cool. And one thing I remember when I was younger, watching pro sports and or just collegiate sports, I would always watch the games and I'd always look on the sidelines. I'd be like, who are all these people in these headsets, like walking around, just pacing back and forth? What are they doing? What do they do? And that's when I got involved with the marketing department at UCM, and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
it's like okay, I get it, I get it now, and like I'm
This
curious.
makes sense why they look so hectic.
Yeah, exactly. They're basically running around with their heads cut off, trying to do 10,000 things at once, and it was really cool to sort of see that on TV or see that like at a game, and then actually becoming that role and being on the field. And I think what's really cool is to be on the field in any sort of capacity. Just when these stadiums are packed, people are yelling, and you're in this sort of environment. And that's where I think at UCM I was there as well, and it was really cool to be at the multipurpose building and also within the stadium. And I think that's sort of where you and I both had this sort of like moment. We're like, oh my gosh, like this is really cool. Maybe
Yeah.
the sport industry might be for me, and it's really cool to hear that you tried all the different aspects of it. And I know I
Yeah,
tried.
I
Yeah,
don't think Mama Kelly would have let me do that if I did. I think she would have been like, okay, you need to go on back, go on back. So that's
yeah,
actually one of my favorite things that I touch on, whether it's a podcast, an interview. I'm like, nope, my mom said this. Or like if I'm getting
hmm,
interviewed by like potential interns, they're like, hey, like when did you know? I'm like, let me tell you.
hmm,
If your parent says something, listen to them. They're
yeah.
pretty good. You don't want to, but they're pretty smart at what they do.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, moms always know. They're always right. Unfortunately, sometimes they don't want to admit it or feel happy to admit it, but they always are. And my mom, yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. My mom was always right as well. And so it was really cool to hear your sort of roadmap and your perspective and your experience through sport. I'm curious if you could sort of paint us a picture of what your current role is at KU and sort of what that looks like.
Yeah. So, as Director of Marketing and Community Engagement here, I fully oversee our marketing efforts for game days with football as well as our softball team.
Hmm.
So, this last season was probably the most unique from both. So, the 24-25 season here,
Hmm.
not only with football playing in two separate stadiums, shout out to Children's Mercy Park and
Hmm.
GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Another fun mouthful.
Yeah.
But also softball, we had five seniors and we were able to work out doing five individual senior days for them at their softball game. So
Hmm.
that was a unique challenge in itself, but also like really cool and kind of rewarding because you're like, hey, we get to highlight one player and celebrate all their full accolades. And it's actually
Hmm.
really cool to kind of hear it instead of like, okay, here's one player, we're going to rush to the next one. Hey, here's another, we're going to rush to the next one. Like, softball had five, football had 38. I would prefer to do softball any day
Yeah. Right.
over the 38 we had for football, but
Hmm.
that's part of the job.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. So do you are you solely responsible for coming up with these events, or are all most of these events like maybe predetermined, or do you sit down and be like, okay, what can I do on this day in this event, or is it mostly based off of what's been done in the past?
Kind of, it's like, it's a nice little tie-in. So,
Hmm.
for example, like anytime we get a schedule, like sometimes it's, around the same time as we're about to release, maybe it's like a couple days before, or maybe it's like, hey, here's a month before, don't say anything. Like, and
Hmm.
it's truly like, hey, got to keep it like hush hush. Um, I know one of the things we like football, for example, you get 5 to 7 games. I think there's like a chance to like it'll bump up to 8 in the future, I think is what I've heard rumblings wise. I could be completely wrong, so I would not quote me on that. But like you kind of look at those dates, so if you have a couple games in November, there's different holidays and different heritages that you can like honor and celebrate. So like Native American heritage, it can be celebrated in November as well as, Veterans Day,
Hmm.
which if it's close to November 11th in some way, shape, or form. But there are other holidays that can also kind of fall on different dates too. So like
Hmm.
we're working out like our game against K-State, it's National First Responders Day, which is not our salute to service game,
Hmm.
but that is like it's different things, and so we'll try to tie that in some way, shape, or form. Or we play a couple games in Hispanic Heritage Month, which actually crosses over. It's unique in that aspect. So
Hmm.
like kind of trying to stay the same with the themes from a football perspective, but when you get to softball and like some of your smaller Olympic sports, you can kind of play around with it a little bit more. So
Hmm.
say, say something falls on like curly hair day. I don't know. I don't know if that's even a holiday. That's just me making stuff up at this point. That could be something where it's like, hey, wear your hair curly, and or like here's like a giveaway that like helps with curly hair or something like that. Maybe it's a silk like scrunchie, something small, but it's something
Hmm.
that you can like do to tie into it.
Yeah.
Or there's even like so different groups or different people will reach out. I know baseball specifically does an autism awareness game because the head baseball coach, one of his sons is autistic, and so he likes to celebrate and highlight him.
Hmm.
um, but I know what Kansas Athletics does as a whole is do team impact. So it's kind of like they draft signees and like children with disabilities,
Hmm.
and they come celebrate them out of games. So we try to recognize them too. But it kind of depends. We work with a lot of people across the board from our KU leads department to ticketing, communications, just everywhere and anyone, just to be
Hmm.
like, hey, like, here's what we're thinking. Or maybe if a coach has like a cause that they're privy to, like I mentioned with baseball, we try to honor that as best as we can.
Yeah, that's really cool. One thing I'm really interested on with the perspective and sort of ideology that I'm coming from being in academics is I'm curious when you're going through your day, is there ever a moment that you think to yourself, "Oh, I want to look at what like marketing research or community engagement research says." I'm really curious if you ever lean on research at all, or do you mostly use prior experience? Do you mostly use sort of what you know instead of relying or bouncing back onto research?
First of all, I'm so sorry. He's my dog Max is taking a drink right now, and of
It's
course it's
okay.
right here.
Yeah.
Um, Yes. Hi, buddy. Thank you. Um, he gives drive-by licks is what we call
Yeah.
it. Um, but so it's we do a little bit of everything. So sometimes it's like, hey, brainstorm in our department. It's like today I'm trying to think of food trucks and like, hey, we want to make sure our sponsor obligations with food
Yeah.
trucks are taken care of. We don't want to have any crossover. Like, so if it's a burger truck and there's another burger truck that we like working with, we're trying to make everybody happy in that sense.
Mhm.
So from that standpoint, and then we do have a like network called NACDA, which is
Mhm.
National Athletic College Directors. So it's a very long name. I never know how to pronounce it, but within NACDA, there's NACMA, which is marketing specific.
Oh my gosh.
So you can literally look in on the NACMA website, like type in all the different stuff. Hey, I want to look at sellout campaigns, stripe out campaigns, whatever the case is.
Mhm.
And you can kind of see and do all the research that people may have done before at previous schools. It doesn't matter if it's D1 all the way down to NAIA. People
Yeah.
are like, hey, here's what we did. Here's how we've done this. And it's just a way to bounce ideas. But I think the biggest one that I rely on is my network. I'm just like,
Mhm.
I text like a certain group of people. I'm like, all right, guys, we're doing this.
Yeah.
What have you done? What have you seen? Like
Yeah.
talking from anything about pyro to, hey, it's a boxing giveaway. I don't even know where I'm coming up with this at this point, but what would you guys think about doing? And it's just a way for us, like as marketing folks, just to kind of
Mhm.
chat, bring up ideas, and just chit chat through it all. I guess is the
Yeah.
best way to say
That
it.
that's really interesting. On the NACTA into NACMA website, are those research projects or research studies done by solely just by universities that have just done things in the past, or are those like actual professors or academic professors that have done like rigorous research projects, or is it sort of like, hey, we did this, this is our story, this is what worked? Is it sort of
It's that last one, and it's
yeah,
like athletic department specifically. But like
okay,
if you know somebody, it's like, hey, like I'm interested in trying, like, how can we highlight staff with it,
yeah,
like for an athletics game, which like for us, for example, we do spotlight on faculty excellence.
mm-hmm,
So we bring in like different games, like we work out with campus to say, hey, like campus and even oh gosh, one of the hospitals, I can't remember which one specifically, and it's like, hey, we'll honor you know, X amount of people, and here are the games that we'll honor them at. So
mm-hmm,
anything from men's basketball, football, volleyball, soccer, baseball, softball, all the way down. We try to highlight them where we can, but it's like, hey, there's a doctor who, has something going on in space. And it's like, I would have never met them had we,
mm-hmm,
not gotten this recognition. But
yeah,
so that's something that we can always post on there. It's like, hey, here's how we recognize staff, but like maybe it's almost like a blog post too, where you can post it and be like, how do you guys recognize your staff? How do you connect with campus? How do you do this? But then also, hey, here's how we did a sellout campaign. Hey, here's how
mm-hmm,
we did the stripe out. So it's ways for people to kind of learn from each other and say, they can give away free tickets at, maybe a smaller group of five school, but other power fours, power fives, whatever you want to call it, it's a little bit more difficult for them to be like, hey, here's free tickets because
mm-hmm.
you want to make the money.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Do you think every other athletic department is similar to what you are doing, where you're using NACTA and NACMA and things like that, or is it's sort of like industry commonality that everyone sort of works? I guess I'm trying to get is what I'm hearing is uh, collegiate athletics is a very tight knit community, and when one university does one thing, you share it with everyone else, and then within that network, everyone builds off of that experience and then reshares it and rebuilds that sort of community. Is that
Yeah,
sort of what it feels like?
kind of in a way. And I know, so they NACMA also does like kind of an award ceremony as well. They do a conference, NACTA
Yeah.
does a conference, and then there's NATSO, which is ticket office. There's literally, it's like continuously all the way, like any department you could think of, like facilities, equipment, like they're all like a part of this in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Um, but NACMA does like an award, so they have like different categories. So it's like hey, revenue generation, like I'm trying to think back of like all the awards my department worked on. It's like, hey, how did you generate your revenue? And then talking about like anything from like static billboards to
Mhm.
all the way down to like our games in Kansas City this last season for
Yeah.
football, like everything and anything. So it's a way to be like, hey, here's what we did, and here's like a little snippet of to what we do. But then if someone's like, hey, I want to learn how you did a stripe out. How'd you do a
Yeah.
sellout? Like they can either, comment on that post, reach out to them directly, be like, hey, I'd love to pick your brain, anything from that nature.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you think that sort of approach will ever change or shift to where instead of relying on that sort of community that you're portraying to like maybe academic research? I'm mostly asking this because I'm really curious about, I mean, my previous experience, and I'm sure yours as well, is sort of when you're in industry, the lack of academic or rigorous like research that is used. And I feel like it's more so what you're presenting is like we sort of lean on what others are doing. And then if they've done it, they help us sort of make those decisions. But instead of using others, do you ever feel like you're in a position where you want to look at like scientific academic research, or is it mostly just based off of who you know, what you know, and the network you have and things like that?
I think they'll if in a perfect scenario, I hope it like stays the same where it's like you still reach out to that network and still
Hmm.
like can build off of that, even if it's like, hey, I may talk to you like 5 times in my whole career,
Yeah.
but like you did this and I still need to pick your brain on it. But I
Mm.
think it would be interesting and impressive to also learn about the numbers. It's like, hey, we put in like X amount of hours like each week to focus solely on this while also the remaining hours that week was focusing on the football season of prepping. Like maybe that's in
Mm.
January. And then like once you get to like August specifically, and it's like your stripe out is like game 3. I don't know if that's really the case.
Mm.
Um, but hey, it's like, okay, we're like a month away now. It's like daily planning. It's like has the like have all the emails communication gone out, have any designs been finalized, are you selling anything specific, you know making sure everyone is understanding across the board. I think
Mm.
I know from like inside marketing, like we can like evaluate at least from like clicks and digital kind of a
Cool.
perspective.
Yeah.
So stuff with apps and like advertisements like on Instagram, Facebook, Meta, whatever it is anymore.
Mm. Yeah.
All the different names, all the
There's so
different
many.
names.
There's so many.
But also like our email marketing system, which is Eloqua. It's like you can see how many clicks, how many people like opened it again. Like, so it's very interesting from that aspect too. So I
Hmm.
think there's a way to track it, but I don't necessarily know if that's a way people will continue to get it. But I'd be
Yeah.
curious to have it go that way for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's very interesting. It's one of the reasons why I'm fueled to create this podcast is I felt like there was never a time where I was like, oh, how do I reprogram this sport to these kids? Let me look at what academic research says. And like I never really crossed my mind. I was always like, oh, well, let me reach out to a different community that did the same thing and what they did to succeed. And it was always that sort of network that you're talking about.
I
And I
will
think,
say, like, sorry to cut you off.
oh, you're fine. Yeah.
I just remembered last semester. Going into winter,
Hmm.
so fall. God, words are hard.
Yeah.
Um, there were kids on campus, a part of the business school. They actually like presented like, hey, how can you get more people to be out at these Olympic sports? So
Yeah.
women's soccer, volleyball, baseball. I think those were the only things that they allowed the students to kind of go into. So
Hmm.
that was a way to kind of get involved with campus, and they like looked at the numbers, so they did the research. But it's like some of the ideas were like, hey, give kids free everything for every game, and it's like can't feasibly do that. Like we
Yeah.
have budgets for a reason, but
Yeah.
it's interesting kind of hearing it from that perspective. So that's something I could see, like, people kind of going into like a professor realm in the university
Hmm.
side. It's like, hey, do research on a team. How are they gonna like continue their growth each and every year for the next like 2.5 years?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. It's one of the things that I really would love to hope to like get involved in after I graduate. But I'd love to really hear about sort of what a day looks like for you? I know it's probably different every single day and or depending on the season, but imagine you're in season. I'm curious, like when you wake up, what does your day look like?
You're right. It does change daily. Like I said earlier on the podcast, it's at least we're playing in Lawrence this season for football, so it's not
Yeah.
like, hey, there's like 4 or 5 different meetings with like 3 out of the 15 people in different meetings and aspects from different departments. It
Hmm.
that was a whole that was a whole thing, and that's an interesting thing. If you want me to touch on it later, I can. But
Hmm.
no, a day in the life, like typically I wake up, feels like crack of dawn.
Hmm.
Typically 5:30, I'm feeding the dog. Which hopefully he doesn't think he's getting fed because he's already been fed. Um, I attempt to go back to sleep a little bit, get
Hmm.
about 30-40 minutes before I go take him outside. It's been really rainy these last couple days, so
Hmm.
it's not been a fun morning trek.
Yeah.
But he does good. He gets his job done. I bring him back inside,
Yeah.
and then I just get ready for work. I leave about 8:30, 8:40, drive about 15-20 minutes to work, and then I'm in at 9, hit the ground running, whether, maybe there's a meeting at 9 or maybe there's something just right at 9:30 or 10.
Hmm.
In season though, God, I'm I'm like so focused on like just summer and just the prep right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do I do in season? Um, like from like a game day week, I know we meet like as an external team, we kind of go over like at the beginning of the week, it's like, hey, like what is the content going out this week? What are the giveaways? Are like what's the pyro situation, what's like flyovers, like at least from a marketing perspective, like,
Hmm.
but we talk with all these other departments to make sure everyone's on the same page, so it's not
Yeah.
like, hey, by the way, we just have a random flyover, good luck, like
Yeah.
that affects timing, that's a
Yeah.
whole thing. um and then a lot of it's coordination, so it's like, hey, we have campus ROTC presenting the colors at this game. Do they have their tickets? Do they have their parking? Or another thing we work with is food trucks. Hey, do they have their parking? Is this a new food truck coming this game? Is this like some of the ones that will be here all season? Are they taken care of? Are we fully staffed with interns? So I've one of the questions I got asked in all of my interviews is,
Hmm.
what's football going to look like? And I'm like, I don't know. Still, I don't know. It's not going to be everybody,
Yeah.
because we have 24 lovely children. I call them my children because I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't think I'll have kids. If I do,
Yeah.
it's going to be 4 legs,
Yeah.
furry,
Yeah.
probably good. But I'm like, it's probably going to mimic, what we did this last season. So a lot less than what we're used to, but
Hmm.
still enough to where we're going to be able to make things happen for the 7 home games we have.
Hmm.
Let's see. Then we have another kind of like a content meeting specifically. It's like, hey, do we have all the graphics ready? If there's a giveaway, is that graphic giveaway good to go? You know, Me specifically, I'm working on emails, I'm working on the scripts. So it's like, hey, like, is this the correct script from sponsorship? Is this read, like, is it legible? Did I just type out the most random crap ever? And people are
Hmm.
like, what are you doing? Like, making
Yeah.
sure it's legible. If we have any special guests, former players, hey, are we making sure that we recognize them if we know they're coming? Now, if we don't know until like the day of, we'll move some stuff around.
Hmm.
But I know this season specifically, we'll work like a lot in advance to like honor our donors just for all the work that they've kind of given and like
Hmm.
the donations they've given us to be like, hey, you've helped make phase 1 be absolutely incredible. So
Yeah.
we're going to honor you because you're freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to be the one thing where it's like just figuring out which donor and like how we're going to recognize them goes over the most smooth, I guess.
Hmm.
So,
That's
and
interesting. That's really cool.
lots of rambling. So sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I was thinking when you were speaking, is there any sort of in-game or out-of-game marketing initiative that you have that's like your favorite or your least favorite?
I don't know if I have a least favorite because it all just goes by so fast, and I'm just kind of like, I like truly, I think I put on a headset like, oh god, it's probably like 4 hours before kick,
Hmm.
3 ish, and then it's kind of just like I'm in game mode. But then as soon as fourth quarter hits, we don't have any promotions or giveaways. I'm just like, take it, I give it to an intern. I'm like, if they call me, find me, get it off my head. I'm like, my ears hurt. I just want to be done with it.
And,
But probably my favorite is if we have, not only if we have a salute to service member and do their recognition, so it's a former military individual, whether they're still involved or a
mhm,
veteran, or our flyover crews. Both get very big rounds of applause. I actually, this like makes me so happy. So my first football season in 2023, I got an email the week of, like maybe even like a couple days before our homecoming game against Oklahoma, which we beat Oklahoma.
mhm.
So I don't know what they say whenever Oklahoma loses because Texas is horns down, but not boomer sooner, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know. And I'm getting reached out. Hey, we've got my uncle, my grandfather, something like that.
Mhm.
He's in town for this game. We would love to recognize him if you have the space. And we get lots of those asks, but it's like these are planned like
Yeah.
months in advance.
Right.
Like I'm waiting for our select a seat process to go through so I know what I can do to move forward with offering tickets and whatnot to our
Mhm.
groups. And I'm like, once I get that number, then I'm gonna start my reach out. But
Mhm.
just kind of waiting, and they're like, hey, like we're so sorry to bug you. And I'm like, guys, like, and I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry, we actually don't have the space because we already have someone. Like it was that game we actually honored. I want to say she was like she was in her 90s, and she had played in like a club for like a band because women weren't allowed to be in the band itself, the
Mhm.
marching band, when she was in college. But she also was on USA for like granny basketball, something
Yeah.
like that. It was like a whole story. And, but we were just filled to the brim with all these recognitions. Sorry, I was going down a rabbit hole. We do not need to go
Yeah.
down that rabbit hole. Um, but I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like Big Noon was coming. So that was a whole thing too.
Mhm.
But I was like, hey, like, let's talk next year. We'll talk, we'll stay in communication. That's what I always tell them. Hey, if I don't have room this time, I can keep you in the loop and see where I can fill in,
Yeah.
but I can't ever guarantee. And I followed back up. Oh gosh, it was like maybe May. And I was like, hey, you're the first group I'm reaching out to. Cause I remember,
Mhm.
cause like he was just like, hey, like we want to do this. And he was a former manager, like equipment manager and everything. Like it was at KU. So it was
Mhm.
super cool. It was like great tie-in. But I was like, hey, like, what's a game? Like, give me your first game. Give me the game that you want to attend. Like, I want to give you like first dibs.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, he's actually going through cancer treatments right now. So can we get back to you in like a month or so? And I'm like, yes. And of course I'm like trying, I'm like, oh crap. Like, should I have done it? Like a little bit of guilt. It's like, oh
Yeah.
God, what did I do? But we were able to recognize them at Houston. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm getting all my games mixed up at this point.
It's no
Um,
worries.
yeah, we were able to get him recognized. His whole family was there. It was
Mhm.
such an incredible moment. Like the wife is giving me hugs all up and down. She texts me every once in a while, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, like this is what I love, what I do. Like
Yeah.
I saw something that was like, this may be your everyday experience, but to them it's their dream, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, that hits. That
Yeah,
hits hard.
it does. That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's really cool that I think one of the things that I sort of start to not realize or understand or think of when you're working in the sport industry, I feel like you get clouded with that same perspective, that same mentality or perspective. Like you're recognizing people, you're doing all these really cool marketing events, really doing all these really cool sentimental things for individuals. And I feel like when you're working in that environment, the first like year, I feel like you're doing it, you have that sort of aha moment that, you and I shared that we both felt at UCM, where you're like, oh my gosh, this is really, really cool. And like you sort of feel that sort of connectedness. But within time, I would argue that that unfortunately fades and it becomes part of just your everyday schedule. And you sort of start to take for granted that experience. And it's really cool that you mentioned that sort of experience because I know that I definitely felt that way a lot of times when I worked in Memphis, and I would help try to like provide sports to kids, and I would see these sort of subliminal aha moments, and I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. I just helped this kid learn how to kick a ball. like that's going to live with that kid forever. But for me, it was like, okay, on to the next one, on to the next one. And you sort of like
Yeah.
kind of forget and get clouded when you work in sports that, you think of these memories. You're like, oh, that's just a normal day when we were playing against Houston. You know what I mean? And like, it's just really funny to hear your perception and how I definitely agree with you. And I'm sure other individuals that work in sports will probably say the same thing. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that sort of perception.
No, that's a great way to look at it. Because yeah, like and if it was the Houston game, which I could go look at the script. I don't want to touch that right now. I'm not trying to think of anything script for like another like month.
Yeah.
But no, like looking back, it was just like, you know, I made like seeing all the other recognitions, and that was our homecoming game. And it's like, yes, homecoming, like these kids are like, it's their first time getting on the field. Like they're getting to do it at a professional stadium. And it's like, yes, that's super cool. And I even was like, hey, like my interns and my graduate assistants are capable of handling these kids. I'm going to go like spend all my time here with this family that I like created some relationship bond with.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you can stay on the field as long as you're out of the way. Cause random fun fact, Arrowhead actually has the smallest sideline in the NFL.
Really?
So it's like, get off to the side. And
Wow.
the amount of people and like social media people that like Colorado had for their game against us at Arrowhead, it was nuts. They requested 30 just for social media for like sideline passes. They needed more.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you the number, but they needed more.
Oh my gosh.
But no, sometimes it's like, oh, it's just, oh, we got to do this recognition. Oh, we got to do this. And, I tell my kids like, hey, like, I got to go, I need you to handle this. And it's not because I don't want to pay attention to them, but it's also like, I need to be ahead, especially if we like cram in a couple recognitions at once. It's like, I can't be there. I can't be at two places at once. I've tried. I would love to. Does not work. But yeah, so it's one of those. But yeah,
it's really cool.
It's rewarding to like think about it when you kind of step back, like your story about like I taught a kid how to kick a ball. It's like that's really awesome. But then you also have to kind of go back to it and kind of back to reality moment of like, let's go. Okay, what's next?
Yeah,
but that's the way of sports, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree. That's sort of like one of the unspoken or I guess hidden things behind when you work in sports. There's a lot of those. I think the first like I would say 4 to 7, maybe even 10 moments, they hit deep. They're like, oh, this was really cool. Wow, that is awesome. That really like resonates with you. And then all of a sudden, I think one happens, and then just some sort of like hidden thing in your brain. You're like, okay, on to the next one. Okay, I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. And so like that's that sort of thing you're describing. And I'm really curious. I had a question that popped up in my head when you're talking about a lot of the events that you're doing. When you're planning these events and you're thinking of these initiatives for marketing and community engagement, is there any sort of like obstacle or hurdle that you have to overcome the most, or that is like most common for you? Or is there any sort of like struggle that you come across that is very common when sort of planning for these marketing events? I'm just curious, like, how do you go about that?
No, really good question. I love getting asked this question. I'm really glad that they can't see my face on this one. No, it's each sport, each event, like each game, it will always have those challenges. Like that's just inevitable. I think like, for example, what I'm working on right now, I'm trying to get like the light pole banners switched out, not only on campus, but across Lawrence. So like it's working with the city, it's working with campus, it's working with, campus marketing, like pretty much anything you could ever think of. But then like from like an actual game day perspective, it's like, okay, is facilities aware, is ticketing aware? Like, do I have all the tickets? Do I have all the parking? There's different obstacles, but they're unique in their own way. So that's, I guess, kind of a good thing, but it honestly, it builds that network, even though it's within your department and like within athletics and like your school, it's still a great department to have. Like, I can't tell you how many times I'm just chit chatting with someone and I'm just like, I hope you have a great day. Even if I don't need anything. Like I walked into development today, our development office, and they're like, Allison only asks for one thing a year. And the other time she just comes in here just to chit chat, just to say hi, check in on you. Like, I just want to always be known as that person where I can, because it's like, maybe someone's having a tough day. Maybe we're in a home stretch of like 8 baseball games in a row. Like I'm making that up in my head, but just trying to like think of ways. But Yeah, it's just making sure it's a lot of communication, but it's a lot of over communication.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hi, I'm sorry for being annoying, but is everything taken care of? Are we good here? What am I missing? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot. It's a lot of different things. It's a lot of like I said, it's a lot of over communication. But
Yeah,
I'll I
that's
try to
good.
like, hey, I'm gonna be your friend here. I'm gonna annoy you right now, but I'm still gonna be your friend and coworker here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. One thing I remember hearing you talk about was your interns. You have a staff of interns. I
Mhm.
vividly remember my internship in sport. It was unfortunately unpaid with
Oh my
FC
god.
Dallas, the MLS team down in Frisco, Texas, right outside of Dallas. It was a 5 month internship, unpaid. And I guess I got paid in experiences, which is really cool. But I would love to see some sort of monetary experience too. But unfortunately, that was sort of the realm and the environment of what sport internships looked like. And I'm curious, does your department or do you sort of rely heavily on internship involvement and sort of what that relationship looks like?
Yes. We are fortunate enough to have it feels like an army of
Hmm.
kids. They're not all like sport management. Like some are accounting, some are business, but they
Hmm.
have like an interest in like event marketing, like marketing in a whole.
Hmm.
Um, so we fortunately do pay. So
Yeah,
that is something,
it's wonderful.
now they very, very wonderful. I'm like,
Um,
man, that would be nice.
that would have been nice. Yeah.
But you know, I a lot of the kids like you'll see like a group of people and you'll see those that like will really step up to the challenge. They're like,
Hmm.
hey, I want to be in every home event. Like one of our former interns, he just graduated. Adam, he literally so again, 6 home football games, he's a senior. I'm like, hey, I know you signed up for all these games. Do you want to take one of them off so you can experience it as a fan? Like it's your
Hmm.
last season. He's like, no. I'm like, why? He's like,
Hmm.
because I have more fun working. And
Hmm.
I'm like, wow, yeah, no, like,
Okay.
so even though he is getting paid, he was also getting paid in that experience. He was a part of the process. He was always like,
Hmm.
he checked in every single day. He had office hours with us. He's like, what do you need?
Hmm.
And no matter what it was, he would get all the tasks done. So if I needed to check in with our food trucks or like, hey, are these inflatables ready to go for football?
Hmm.
He took it, no problem. If
Yeah.
he maybe had like one or two questions, if that, the whole season,
Hmm.
if he needed like more clarification. But he was great. He did a fantastic job, which he still hasn't announced where he's going, so I won't highlight it here. I know this comes out in July, but still, I don't want to steal the thunder for him
Yeah.
where he's going next. But
Yeah.
very excited to see where he's going.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, and so you have those kids that will like put their all into it, that are like,
Hmm.
I want to be here, I want to help you, I want to do this, and I want to be a part of this athletic department and be a part of this job. And you've got some that are like, yeah, I'm here. I don't know what I want to do. I'm kind of, just along for the ride almost. But
Yeah.
it's like this, like we tell them, you get what you put into it.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
we're not going to force you, but like sometimes we may need to if it's like we're short staffed. Like I think it was baseball, we had to volunteer someone they
Hmm.
were working, and that was the first time in my 2 years we had to do it. And it
Hmm.
was like, well, at least the kid's local, so
Yeah.
he can come back real easily.
Right. It's really cool. Do you think other departments are sort of similar in their relationship with interns?
Um, I like to think across the board for the most part, yes. Do
Hmm.
they call them their children? Probably not. Is that absolutely?
Yeah.
But I did have one of them for the first time. Tell me Happy Mother's Day, and I was like, please stop.
Oh.
I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
please stop. Um, but no, I'm not going out with them to the bars. I'm not
Yeah.
seeing them out of the bars or anything. And if I did, I'd be like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
Have a beverage at my own place if I
Yeah.
can. I have my dog.
Right.
Um, but it gets to a point where you're kind of like, I treat you as an individual. I'm going to give you these responsibilities,
Hmm.
and we're going to form some kind of a relationship in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. But it's still like you still got to have that balance. Like you can have fun, but you still have to be like, all right, gotta get your stuff in line. So
Yeah.
like one of the things I like to do after a game is kind of like it's the compliment sandwich if you've ever heard it, but
Hmm.
it's like a constructive sandwich, so to speak. So it's like bottom part is, hey, thanks for being here. Here's kind of what went wrong. Talk a little bit like, hey, how come, like, what went wrong? Like, can you give me more details? Because maybe it's something that happened when I was on the field. Next part is like, hey, what are we going to do to fix that? It kind of like, all right, is it getting there 30 minutes earlier? Is it, making sure security is aware to not let in a drunken fan? I don't know. Whatever the case is. And then the last part on top of it is just like, I have faith in you. You guys are doing great. Like, ask your questions. Like, I'm here for you. So it's like giving them that reassurance, like, hey, we're having these talks just because I want to give you constructive feedback, and that criticism of like, you're going to do great. And this is how it's going to, like, it's not always going to be like this, but I'm going to walk you through however I can, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's really cool. It's really interesting is the importance of, I guess, internships. And I think what's really interesting is how just the nature of intern changed, because I know you and I both spoken have experienced unpaid internships and working basically volunteering, and like earning that internship to graduate and things of that nature. And now I think the sporting landscape, or just sports in general, is shifting to paying all of their interns, which I'm extremely happy to hear.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the unpaid ones do still exist, but it's really cool to see that a lot more interns within sport in the sport industry are getting paid, which I'm super happy about, because that was an unfortunate but also very fortunate sort of investment within yourself that you have to take. I took a pretty large one. I'm moving to Dallas, but I really thank my parents for helping me sort of survive within that internship. So it's really cool that companies and universities like KU, you're giving these interns an opportunity to survive, both experiential wise and monetary. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed asking those first questions. We'll take a short little water break. We'll be back maybe after a little halftime. We'll be back in a couple of seconds and talk a little bit more about your personal experience, things that are very personal to you, and sort of pros and cons, your specific opinions, and maybe some future dreams. We'll be back in a couple of seconds. Okay, hey everyone, welcome back to the second half of this episode. I really hope y'all enjoyed the first half of the episode, where we talked a lot about Allison's previous experience within sports, her current role at KU within marketing and community engagement, what a day in the life looks like, the sort of hectic schedule of working game days and summer planning and things of that nature, and maybe some hurdles that she came across, and really spoke a lot about the technicalities of working in sport. And now for the second half, I'm really excited to shift a bit more towards Allison, your personal experience and your personal maybe thoughts and perceptions on sport. And I really want to ask just sort of your opinion on your thought on what the pros and cons of working, I guess, just in sports itself, and then maybe also down the road working in collegiate sports as well.
Yeah. I always like to start with the bad stuff first, and I'm putting quotes around bad stuff. So I'll start with the cons first. I think one of the biggest ones that not a lot of people have like invested in and like really understand, like, you have to do this, is you have to go where the jobs are.
Yeah.
Funny enough, when I was trying to decide if I was going to go to UCM, my dad, I vividly remember this day. He's like, where do you want to go? And he's like, he literally drew a map of the United States. And of course it's dad handwriting, so it's awful. And I'm just like, I don't want to go to California. I don't want to go to North Dakota. That my North Dakota accent came out there. That's really bad. I wish that was edited. I was like, I don't want to work in Ohio. Like, and I'm like listing everything off. And eventually, of course, went to UCM, like Snouts Out, Mules and Jennies, all that stuff. But it's so funny to see, like, okay, I've worked in like states I never thought I would be in. Like, I've gotten to be flown out for interviews, like in different states and states that I was like, oh, this could be cool. But then I'm like, ugh, do I want to live here?
Mm-hmm.
But then also it's like, oh, I could see myself living here and may not have gotten a job, and that's okay, because obviously that led me here. But it is so important to go where the jobs are and like understand, like, yes, you could be from Kansas City, you could be from St. Louis, and it's like, I want to live only in these cities.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Love that. It may take a while. Like,
Yeah.
not all the jobs are opening up in the pro teams. Kansas City is not really a huge college hub. I know obviously we've got UMKC, Avila, so a couple smaller schools, but they don't always have openings either. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
like you're really pigeonholing yourself. Rockers too. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
going off here.
Oh, you're good.
So that's probably the biggest one, is like the biggest con is like you have to go, but like kind of following up and kind of hand in hand is it's like you'll miss a lot of stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
now granted, I say this jokingly but seriously at the same time, like I don't care to celebrate Thanksgiving because I'm like, I have 364 days to be thankful for everything else. So
Yeah.
it's like, why do I need a day? I'm more of a ham person anyways. I'm not a huge turkey lover. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like I don't need to go do this. I love seeing my family, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like I could do without.
Mm-hmm.
So my first few years, I didn't fly home for Thanksgiving. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
nope, save the money. Save the money. I don't want to go home.
Yeah.
I will have I'll have a pizza, I'll have something, and I'll call it good. And I was content. I had
Yeah.
zero issues with that. So like there's that chance to miss out on like big moments, big life events. People, you'll jokingly see people with videos and it's like, so my best friend's getting married during football season and Auburn's playing right now and they have like the phone on the sideline
Mm-hmm.
or like in the stands, in the seats, and they're just like peeking over,
Mm-hmm.
trying not to cheer when there's no one clapping.
Yeah.
But it's like you miss a lot of the different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably my two biggest cons.
Yeah, I really agree with those two. I think the first one that you hit on, that you have to go where the job is, and that is something that I'll die on this hill. Like that is something that I 100% agree with you on. That just based off of both of our experiences, like unfortunately and also fortunately, I've lived in I think 7 states now, because you're sort of pursuing these dreams. Like you kind of sort of realize when you go on Indeed and you type in parentheses like sports management or you type in sports something and you realize that like not all of them, maybe one is in your state and 500 other people are applying to that role. And so
Yeah.
everybody else goes to where the job is. And unfortunately, like out of UCM, I went to Memphis. That's where I went first, to Memphis, Tennessee. Did I ever think I wanted to live in Memphis? Absolutely not. But that was sort of the mentality that you're talking about, is you have to go where the job is. And that's sort of the downside. But I would also think of it also as the plus, like hindsight's 2020 in a sense. Like it sort of forces you to get comfortable with being in a new environment and like creating these new communities and friendships and stuff. And so it's really cool to hear you say, even though that is a con, I think there's a slight pro to it, but it's
Mhm.
definitely the con where you do have to go
Yeah,
where the job is.
exactly. It's the experience, but then it's like, okay, I get to work with these different people who
Yeah.
have other connections, and that in turn turns into a pro because it's like you're building that network. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've got a magnet back here, which again, we're on a podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
it's two of my former roommates in Vegas. Like, did I want to have roommates in Vegas? No. Vegas is extremely expensive. It's just like California. Gas, horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid expensive. Do I miss it? I miss the warm heat because I'm still not acclimated to the winter again.
Yeah.
Going 2 years in,
Yeah.
3 years here soon. But no. So my old roommate Kelsey, I worked with her at UNLV, and it was amazing. Like we'd have different schedules, but it was so fun just kind of building that relationship. And we still talk to this day. And like
Mm-hmm.
random fun fact, her boyfriend's uncle is a former Chiefs player who's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like
Wow.
I'm like smallest world out there, but
Yeah.
it's so funny. But building that network, like people I've met in North Dakota, like I had the former head men's basketball coach come down,
Mm-hmm.
and he once he took mine at state, because they had regionals or something. I don't know what part it was,
Mm-hmm.
but it was in Topeka. So they're like, hey, like swing on down if you can, like
Yeah.
come like, let me show you out in Fieldhouse because that's where our offices are held.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they're guys, they've been on a bus and plane and everything. So they're kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't really care. But
Yeah.
some kids and some of the adults were like, this is really cool. Like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
But that network just, it builds. And I love like
Yeah.
building those relationships because there are people where it's like, hey, I know I can talk to you about just work stuff. And then there's people that it's like, I can talk to you about work stuff
Mhm.
and personal life. And
Yeah.
I will have those for the rest of my life. And it's like, they know, hey, I can go to Allison for X, Y, and Z, no matter
Yeah.
what. So that's probably my biggest pro. God, I'm trying to think. I'm literally blanking. I'm like, I know pros, I know cons, but
Do you think there's any sort of pro of working or pro or con within just college sports and specifically college sports?
great point. Yes, I will. For me personally, I will die on this hill. I have a
Mhm.
lot of hills I will die on. Again, lots of rabbit holes. Do not need to go down.
Mhm.
But my biggest one is I think it's honestly it's more impactful when you work in collegiate athletics than you do in professional sports.
Mhm.
Now, that can vary. I've only done it from NFL, so professional football, and I've been able to work at pretty much any sport known to man where I could in collegiate athletics. But
Mhm.
you get to build relationships with people in the department. So it's not like, hey, you get to work with maybe a small niche group in professional sports. Whereas collegiate athletics, it's like, hey, I'm going to go chit chat with the rowing coach. Hey, women, we had a women leaders conference in February, not a women leaders, but we had a women's conference in February. And it's like, we had someone from a couple from development. We had the head rowing coach. We had pretty much anyone that wanted to go an opportunity to go to this. The director of ops for track and field. Like we're all just chit chatting. We're all just like having conversations, but it's like you can have those conversations and still develop those relationships. You may
Mhm.
not use them, talk to them every single day, but it's like, hey, I know Allison. Hey, I know Carrie. I know Rose. Whatever the case is, whoever it is that you know. So you get to really like build on those. Plus, like what I say I do it for, like my job specifically, I do it for not only the fans, but I do it for the student athletes. Like
Mhm.
I want them to have a good experience. I want them to see, oh my God, there's a sold out crowd behind me. Oh my God, like I know my second game for football, it was our blackout game or Black Hawk game. If we called it so many different things.
Yeah.
We did a sales campaign. I came up with it Black for Black Friday because we had
Mhm.
a game on Friday. We actually played Illinois, so
Yeah.
it beat y'all. It's
Yep.
very nice. You guys gave us that back though the next year,
Yep.
so it's fine. But I remember we had given away black T-shirts for the students, and in the student section, and just all across the board, like everyone's in black. And we do this thing called Wave the Wheat anytime we score a touchdown or win a game, and everyone's just doing it, and they're to the beat of the band, and it was just like, whoa, like it was
Mhm.
so cool just to see like the full stadium doing it, and I was like, this is really sick.
Yeah.
So that's how I saw it, and I don't know. That's at least for me. Like that's my biggest pro is I think you get to build those relationships and you get to do it for like a lot more heartfelt reasons rather than like, hey, here's 10 home games you do at NFL or
Yeah.
whatever it is in MLS or hockey. I don't think I could ever do baseball. Baseball would be way
There's
too
so
many.
many.
I couldn't do it, but
Yeah.
it's like, hey, like here's what I got to do. Here's how I got to make this fan experience better for like a group of kids that came out that can afford to get these tickets or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah, I do agree. I think having worked in like yourself in different sort of capacities of the sport industry, I think what I've noticed is that when working in collegiate sport, it's a bit, I feel like I don't know if this is the right word, but I think it's a bit more sentimental for some
Yes.
reason working in collegiate sport and instead of professional sport. I'm not sure what it is, but maybe it's the fact that they're not $1 million. I mean, unfortunately, with NIL, like they are making a lot of money, which I'm very happy about, but they're not like contracted $1 million pro athletes. Like
Yeah.
they're young students, mostly, pursuing their education and, going to school for this stuff. A lot of them are pursuing, participating for the pro opportunity as well. But, there's sort of that juxtaposition of it. But I think that's sort of like perception or environment that it creates that it's it's sort of this sentimental thing. And I don't know if that's the right word or not, but I think that's what I've started to realize is there's a different perception of pro sport and collegiate sport. And I think it's just a bit, I don't know, like I guess sentimental, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. I think, like, for example, we can be like a couple seconds off at like
Hmm.
some of our games if there's a flyover, which I know if James, if you're listening, I'm sorry. We'll be on time for all of our flyovers this year. I promise. Don't yell at me. I don't even know if he would listen to this, but uh, like for like an Olympic sport game, if we're off by a couple seconds, like it's truly not the end of the world. But like NFL, it is scripted down to the absolute second. So it's
Yeah.
like, maybe it's 2:05:13, something like that. Like
Hmm.
it feels like it's almost like you're like a cog in a machine.
Yeah.
Whereas like you get like a lot more variety and you get more opportunities in a collegiate athletics aspect.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. That really transitions into my next question. I'm really curious, as you've worked in and through sport, do you think your personal perception of sports itself or the way you consume sports is different? So instead of like going to the game and you're working these football games, but when you come home, like, do you ever throw on a game and you watch these games and you're like, oh, that marketing halftime show was crap. I could have done a better job. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, is there something that you see when you watch, like, oh, that marketing thing was cool. Maybe I should do that. Or like, I'm curious, instead of watching the game, you're sort of watching something else.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Oh my God, I cannot tell you how many times I've done that. And I'm just like, oh my God, I could have done this way better. Like, I I'll tell you this when you stop recording. So if you
Hmm.
remind me,
Yeah.
something I noticed, but I think one of the biggest ones that I did notice when I first got back into college athletics after
Hmm.
UCM, um, we were actually at the rival. So I worked at Akron, and we were
Hmm.
at the rival school of Kent State,
Hmm.
which I think I still follow that stuff, and just the rivalry is hilarious. It's like Kent is not a state. What's a Golden Flash? Like all of these things. I'm like, where
Hmm.
do you guys come up with this? But it's so funny. Anyways, I remember they did a halftime promotion. Halftime, it may have been in game, but I just remember they had like one of the volleyball carts, the square ones, not like the long kind of rectangular ones.
Hmm.
And they were like, "Hey, like you need to put all of these bouncy balls. You need to put all these bouncy balls in this, but in the square ones, you have the holes in the corners." And it's like, oh God, who thought this through?
Yeah.
Who said this is it? This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So the fact that that was in early 2020, like I'm still
Hmm.
thinking about that to this day.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy, but yeah, I think it's easier to do that when I'm in person at a game. So if I
Hmm.
see it, it's like, hey, I'm checking this out, or hey, I'm gonna go. Like I know some of our staff will go to like K-State games, and it's like, hey, I want to see how you guys did things here. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't necessarily have to be a promotion, but it's like, how are you doing things against KU?
Hmm.
Kind of a like standpoint. But if I'm in like if I'm in my living room here, I may turn on a game and I may just be like, it may just be background noise at this point, but I'll also kind of be like, okay, like I'll have an interest in watching it. So like right now is the College World Series, so I'm watching softball. I'm like, I have it on at work. I'm like, thank you for being on during work hours. Like I'm just very appreciative of that for sure. But yeah, it's hard to turn off your brain
Hmm.
in this aspect for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool that that you're speaking about these experiences because it's really getting me to think about my sort of perception coming from academics and research and my research line and my passion area of research is this sort of sport fan behaviors
Mhm.
and like why fans do the things they do and the psychology behind it and maybe like what in a sociological sense fuels that psychology. And so this may be a weird question, but it reminds me of my research. Like if you're ever watching a game, do you see yourself as a fan first of the game, or do you see yourself as sort of like an employee in sport watching the game instead
Oof.
of being a fan? Does that make sense?
No, that absolutely makes sense. I
Yeah.
embarrassingly, like, I think I would see myself as an employee at a
Yeah.
game because
Yeah.
as much as I want to turn it off and be like, I can watch this without worrying about it,
Hmm.
my mind just doesn't work that way. Now, maybe if it's a sport that like I don't really ever touch, like
Hmm.
it's like hockey, for example, like maybe
Hmm.
something with hockey, like KU, there's club hockey, but it's not affiliated with the athletics department. But
Hmm.
it's like maybe if I were to go to that, like I could turn my brain off a little bit and kind of just enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's that's really hard to do. I joke when I say this, but I bring it up on like any interview. My brain honestly feels like it's a hamster on a hamster wheel, and it's like, what is next? What's going to happen next? Like, what's the next idea that I'm going to bring up?
Hmm.
So I'll think of like the kookiest things, and I'm like, how can we do this here? And is it going to work all the time? Absolutely not. But
Hmm.
am I going to bring it up and maybe embarrass myself? Absolutely. So yeah, it's definitely one of those where it's like, well, yeah, we can try it, we can talk through it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really cool to hear your perception. And I think I will go on out on a limb, and I would argue that a lot of individuals that work in sport or the sports industry will feel the same way. That unfortunately, I think one of the dark sides, the unfortunate dark sides of working in sports is that you sort of unfortunately, I guess air quotes like sell your like soul in a sense. Like you sell that like fan soul. Like you don't become a fan anymore. When you see sports, you will consistently view it in a different way. And when you decide to work in sports, you're sort of selling or getting rid of that like fan
Mhm.
perception. And then going forward after you've worked in sports, you see, like you said, you see these events, you're like, oh, that could have easily been done differently. Why'd you choose this event at this specific time? And like, same with my experience in operations and stadiums and research and fan behavior. And like, when I watch my favorite soccer team is AC Milan and some of their loyal fans, they're upset with the way that the team is going. And so they actually, in the loyal fan section, they spelled out go home with themselves and they're protesting the ownership and things like that. And I'm like, wow, as a researcher, that's really cool. But I fail to be there and be like, oh, I'm actually a fan of this team, but I'm looking at it as a
Mhm.
researcher. And they're like, oh, what if I research, fan, loyal, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, well, why can't I just look at it like a fan and be like, oh, I'm just upset. And it's just really cool to hear your, experience.
Yeah, it's the outside looking in of like
Yeah.
that fair weather fan. Like I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many times, like even before I worked at KU, I've been a KU fan to an extent, like and grew up watching them. And the amount of times it's like you would see like social media posts, oh they all and like the social media posts today are just diabolical and they're so
Yeah.
evil. And I'm like, okay, let's like calm down, take like 50 steps back. And this is like across the board, not even just sports, just like
Yeah.
anything. But just to see like them attacking not only from a collegiate athlete standpoint but like professional sports and like professional athletes, but collegiate specifically, I'm like these kids are like 18 to 22, 23, 24, 25ish, just
Yeah.
like the COVID year and everything. I'm like they're under so much pressure.
Yeah.
They're constantly trying to figure out if they can be an NIL athlete too. Hey, are my grades being kept up? Hey, you know something else is going on family wise. Like we don't know what's going on in their lives
Hmm.
or they're feeling this extraneous amount of like pressure to like
Yeah.
be the best. And I'm just like, how are you going to go tell someone to go themselves because you
Yeah.
lost a bet? Like that's
Yeah.
God, I could go on and on. And I'm just like, we need to be nicer these days.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with you. And it's really interesting to see, like, I call them keyboard warriors, individuals that will hide behind their keyboard. And
Oh, absolutely.
um, I recently spoke with another individual on a different episode about sort of how individuals will hide behind this keyboard and say things, but what if we flipped it and we were like, if you worked in sales and you're, complaining that the punter missed a punt or whatever, and you DM him, okay, what if we flip it and you work in sales and you didn't meet your quota and we DM you and say you're terrible at your job, you should quit. Like how would you feel if random people are calling you out and say that you're terrible? I mean, like nobody would like that. No one would want that. And so it's
Oof.
just, yeah, it's really interesting to think of, but
Nathan, you
yeah.
actually just made me think of something. So when I was with the Chiefs, we did not only their games there, but we also did concerts.
Oh, wow.
So I got lots of fun experience. I got to see Ed Sheeran live. That was really cool.
That is cool.
He does all of his music by himself. I'm just like, ooh, like
Hmm.
it was so cool to see. But like, so Taylor Swift came into town that year.
Hmm.
I wasn't thrilled. I had to work because it was my birthday, and I was like, I want to be here.
Hmm.
I'm getting paid, but I'm like, I really don't want to work on a Saturday. Like
Yeah.
it was just killing the whole vibe. But whatever. I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be fine. We had we we had all these fans email in, hey, what kind of sign can we bring in? What's the size requirements? Can we do this? Can we add sparkles? Can we add lights? Can we like any question you could think of, they were asking.
Hmm.
And like we hadn't gotten anything from like Taylor Swift's department of like, hey, like it needs to be in this size requirement until Thursday, then 2 days before the concert. So
Hmm.
all that week we were following NFL policy of like it can only be, I think it was 3x5 at the time for signs. You cannot
Hmm.
bring in like anything with flames. You cannot bring in this. You cannot bring in that. And when we finally got the information from her team, we started like changing it and say, hey, here's what you can bring in, and here are the
Hmm.
requirements. We had multiple people start reaching back out to us.
Hmm.
Hey, you guys told us this. I worked on this. I did this. I actually had a couple Taylor Swift like fans, like fan pages and just like fans in general, find my Instagram,
Oh my gosh.
post my email thread on social media, like going off on me, like, you told us this. And I'm just like, and for
Wow.
whatever reason, I was actually the only one
Yeah.
out of my team that had that happen. And I'm just like, so fun fact, I have internal beef with Taylor Swift, but
Yeah, that's
fans
wild.
are crazy.
That's crazy. That's a really cool story though. That's wild that they sort of like picked on, that like that's crazy to
Yeah.
me.
I have beef with her. I've got beef with Bill Murray. So yeah, just
Beef
shame.
with beef with all the celebrities, huh?
All the celebs
That's
ready,
really
line them
funny.
up.
Yeah, that's really funny. I want to transition to the final question I have for you. That's sort of just a general question. I'm curious about your future dreams. This can be or goals. This can be within sports, like maybe a dream job, or this can be outside. I'm just curious where you think, maybe you'll be in 10 years or something of that nature.
Oof. Yeah, always the fun, scary question.
Yeah,
Since I've been yapping, I'll keep it as short as I can here. So sorry about that.
you're fine.
No, I think for the future, I think a future job, I would love to be a senior woman administrator. Getting a little taste of that at Minot State, it was really awesome because I got to work with the student athletes a lot closer than I had ever done before.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, they see us in the hallways or they would see us at games and they're like, hey, I know you. They may not know my name, but
Hmm.
getting to build that relationship. Like, I still keep in contact with a couple of them. They're like, hey, like, I'm moving out to California, or hey, I'm going to be out in Las Vegas for this tournament. Like, it's so cool to kind of see how they've built up their relationship and their lives since. And kind of going just straight back into marketing and just like, and I connected with a lot of kids at UNLV. A couple of them, I'm like, oh, I'm like, you're doing so good. Like, you weren't ever my intern, but you're doing so great. But just seeing how they're improving, it's been really cool to like kind of build that. So I'd love to get back to like a job with senior woman administrator.
Hmm.
I'm in no rush because I tell myself this was actually kind of my dream school. I like had an idea of like possibly going here, but I was like out of
Yeah.
state tuition is going to cost a lot being from
Yeah.
Missouri. And I was like, well, UCM's doing a sport management program. This seems like a good fit. And it was an amazing fit. But I think I'm in my dream school right now.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things I like to focus on, like for future things, is like everything happens the way it's supposed to. So,
Mhm.
like we talked about, did we ever think we were going to live in Memphis? Did we ever think we were going to live in North Dakota? Probably not.
Yeah.
Never in our wildest dreams. But we did it because that's where it led us to. And now we're here today, kind of
Yeah.
doing what we're doing.
That's really cool. Do you think that's awesome to hear that KU is sort of the dream school for you? And do you think, relating back to like going where the job is, do you think this is maybe the last stop? Do you think KU is sort of your final spot in your like sport industry roadmap, or do you have a sort of like ideal spot you want to end up?
So another fun loaded question.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be upset if this was my final one.
Yeah.
I actually, when I was working with the Chiefs, I got a few days off and I actually had to go travel to North Carolina.
That's
And I
cool.
got to see both Duke and North Carolina's like basketball Hall of Fames.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina's is way better than Duke's, just gonna say that.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be really cool to like end up down in North Carolina just in general because it's a beautiful state.
Yeah.
But again, like my whole purpose of getting the job at KU and like kind of applying was like I'm closer to home after all these years of being
Yeah.
away. So I'm not in any rush, but I'm kind of, if there's something that opens up and someone's like, hey, this is a great opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's not internal promotions happening or people aren't like moving on where I could see myself moving up and onward. That's a topic to discuss for the future, but I know right now, I think my son, my dog Max, would very
Mm-hmm.
much miss his grandparents, is what we
Yeah.
call them. So plus they're a big help, especially when I'm in season with football. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. I'm really happy to hear that you're sort of at this spot in your career. And I know a lot of individuals within sports sort of yearn and try to find that feeling, and that's something that I was also searching for. Um, when I bounced around from Memphis, my internship in Dallas, and then I worked in Seattle as well, and you're sort of chasing this dream of working in sports and getting to that spot. And so I'm really happy to hear that you're sort of at a spot that you're very content at. So it's really cool. I really appreciated you taking the time to speak with me for this episode. I really hope everyone else enjoyed the episode where we talked a lot about just everything Kansas athletics, everything about your previous experience within athletics and what that looks like within a collegiate environment, marketing aspects and things like that. So I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. Thanks again for taking the time to meet with me. And I hope everyone joins for the next one. So thank you very much.
thanks for having me. Sorry for yapping your ear off today.
All good. Thank you.